Well, good morning, gang. Here we are again. It's summertime. I'm here with Mr. Wells. Say hello, Mr. Wells.
What's going on, guys?
We are doing another short video. No pun intended. I got you again. But what we're going to talk about today is, as you can see here, get rid of my face, and this is page 704 and 705 in your book, and what we're going to be talking about, what were the causes and effects of World War I. But today we're just going to talk about the causes. Okay, so we're going to strictly stick to this side of the page, which is the causes. And as you can see there, sorry about that, I wrote in the book because they didn't write it, but it's militarism, right? So when we talk about the main causes, we're going to talk about militarism, we're going to talk about alliances, we're going to talk about imperialism, and we're going to talk about nationalism. And as you can see, that is another acronym, right? It's a short acronym, and it is the main causes. So militarism, alliances, imperialism, nationalism, just what you see on page 704 in your book right there, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to then we're going to talk about the tensions for a minute, okay? Because each one of these built up tensions that made World War I happen, or sparked World War I. Go on to the first M, militarism. All right, so militarism was building up strong armed forces. Okay, so you build up your military. That's what militarism is. Why would you do that? Well, you would do that in order to protect yourself or in order to go to war. All right, so that's militarism, building up strong armed forces. All right. Is alliances. Alliances, and I think the easiest way for you guys to remember what alliances is one country having another country's back, right? So you'd stick up for a friend in a fight. So it's a partnership, okay? That's an alliance, okay? And we're going to go over why that was a tension, but okay, why would you form alliances? One, again, is to protect yourself, so you have a partner to fight with. Or you form an alliance because you are basically too weak to protect yourself, possibly. Then we have imperialism. So imperialism is the I, okay? Imperialism is, and what have we said, guys, is a stronger, more powerful nation controlling the economic and political affairs of a weaker nation, okay? So that is what imperialism is, okay? Why do people imperialize? Well, so they can have more stuff, okay? They want to take people's resources. And if we get into this further, we'll discuss in class, will also be Mr. Short's Bake the Cake theory of imperialism. That'll come a little bit later, or we may have already done it. All right. The last one is nationalism, okay? So nationalism is the N, and it is pride, having great pride in your country, thinking that you're number one or whatever. Okay, this can cause problems later because of jealousies or many different reasons. But this I will discuss, and we will talk about nationalism or pride in one's country, and I will use our neighbor friend Canada as an example that we'll discuss later to help you understand nationalism a little bit better. Okay. Okay, now we're going to talk about tensions. When I say tension, if you look up in the corner up here, okay, that is, we know what happens when we get tense. We start to freak out, scream, whatever, right? Also, think of a rubber band or a rope. When you have too much tension on it, it's finally going to snap. Well, that's what we're talking about here when we're talking about World War II and how it led up, and how these main causes, all these causes led up to the war. So let's talk about why is military a tension. Well, militarism is a tension. That's this one right here. Why is military a tension? Militarism is a tension because if you are a small country and you have a country beside you building up their military with all this military force next to you, is that going to make you tense? Is that going to make you a little nervous? Sure it is. Why? Because you think you might be taken over. All right, they might come over and take you over. All right, that could lead into number two, why that small country might form an alliance with that bigger country because they are afraid of being taken over. And if they form an alliance with them, they don't have to worry about that. Let's go back and talk about militarism for a second. Talk about big countries, large countries. Okay, it's kind of like keeping up with the Joneses. Okay, if they grow their army by 100,000 men, well, you know what? Now we're going to grow our army by 100,000 men. So you have to keep getting bigger and bigger. And why is that attention? Because obviously, if two neighboring countries are building their armies bigger and bigger and bigger, obviously they think, well, it's like two guys working out in the gym. Okay, one guy's gonna ask the other guy to arm wrestle or fight sooner or later because they think they're tougher. Right? So that's kind of the way it happens with these armies building up. Okay, now we'll go on and continue with the alliance. Why is an alliance attention? Well, we discussed alliances means you have somebody's back. So in other words, if Mr. Wells, I always tell Mr. Wells, hey, I got your back, right? Right, Mr. Wells? Right, I got your back.
You got my back.
Okay. If I tell him I got his back and he gets in a fight with Mr. G, I don't want to fight with Mr. G, but guess what? Maybe Mr. G and Mrs. Bell are friends. And then we end up having to fight each other. But we don't want to, but we're an alliance, so we promise. So another thing that goes along with that is something called the domino effect. Okay? So the domino effect. Okay, so we're talking about the domino effect is what I'm talking about, okay? With alliances. If one country goes to war, many countries go to war. So if you can see right here, let me move that out of the way, there we go. Like, basically, this is a pretty good little slide here because it shows if one country goes to war, all these countries were alliances, they all go to war. So that's the problem, and that is the tension that maybe a small country goes to war and they don't really want to, okay? So in other words, many countries end up in a war that just two countries started, okay? And that is really what happened with World War I. That's what happened. So now let's quickly go on to imperialism. Imperialism, why is that such a tension? Why would that lead us into war? What could that possibly do? Well, think about it. The whole thing is a stronger country. What is the bad word in there? Controlling, okay? So do you think a small country likes to be controlled? No. Would that cause tension? Yes. What other things could cause tensions with imperialism? Well, think about it. If I'm a big country and I have my sights set somewhere in Africa because there's a lot of resources in a certain place, I go down there and I get them, and then another country's thinking, oh, darn, they got there first. I wanted their stuff, okay? So you've got even large countries having tensions over imperialism because they're looking around the world, seeing who's taking over things, and they're getting jealous. There's jealousy, okay? Because everybody wants to have the most toys, right? Because we all know he who dies with the most toys wins. So there's the problem with imperialism. Now we go on to nationalism, okay? Having pride in one's country, all right? Why would having pride in your country be a tension? Well, obviously, everybody thinks they're number one. That's in itself could be a tension. Then you also have, if countries were taken over, okay? Remember in Europe, for hundreds of years, there were wars and borders changed all the time. So you're one country, and before you know it, then you become another country, all right? So you're a completely different national being because you used to be this and now you're this. The easiest way I can make this example for you guys is the Canada story again. Let's say Canada came down into the United States and took over New York, just New York, okay? So now we had a war with Canada. Canada wins this portion of the war. War's over, but we give up New York to Canada. Do you think that all of us in New York would feel Canadian, or would we still feel American? And I think I've done this survey most times. People in all my classes say they would feel American, except for some of the big hockey players that think, oh, I want to go play in Canada. Just a joke. So you are feeling American, so wouldn't you do anything in your power to become American again? Okay, so don't you think that these countries that borders changed in Europe, they were always feeling that tension, and even the country that took them over was feeling tense because they knew that these people in this area, like Canada, would feel tense because they knew people in New York, boy, you know what, we got to always worry about them because they'll do anything they can to be U.S. again. So there's that tension. All right. So those are the tensions that you need to know. Okay. We'll have a sheet on this. We'll go over it again. Okay. But that is how it works. Okay. That's why the main causes of World War I, and that's why there were a lot of tensions.